Dan Burn could be coming up against his former club tomorrow. He's slotted in really nicely into the team, hasn't he? What has impressed you about the way he's played for you since you brought him to the club?
Yeah, Dan's been very good on and off the pitch. Great lad. Really mixed well with the team. I think he's immediately got everyone's respect with how he's conducted himself. Trained very well. Had to be patient for a little period, but then when he got his chance in the team, I think he's performed really, really strongly. I think very composed, defensively very good. So yeah, he's fitted in really well. I'm really pleased with him.
And Burn has been playing alongside Fabian Schär, who is someone that's clearly responded well to you and your staff since you came in, and you've picked him for almost all of the matches since you've been here. I think he's out of contract at the end of the season. Is he someone that you're looking to keep longer term?
Yeah, so Fabian's someone, as I said before, I've always admired. Really good footballing centre-back. I think the most important thing for me is defended. Take away the footballing side, he's defended very well. Again, he's another one that's trained really well. We're aware of his contract situation. We'll be sitting down and discussing things with his agent very shortly.
The run that you're on at the moment, 7 Premier League matches unbeaten, is the club's longest unbeaten run in the Premier League for more than a decade. I know there's a long way to go this season and a lot of work still to be done, but how much satisfaction do you take from putting such a good run of results together?
Yeah, we're pleased, but I don't think it means anything. We had a long way back. You know, we were starting from a position where we were well aware we needed a run like this to elevate ourselves and give ourselves a chance of staying in the league. So as much as we're pleased with our recent form, we know that we want to extend it. We want it to carry on for as long as possible. And we know we have some tough games to come. We've got a very intense period coming up. But the lads are in a good place. But we can't drop our levels even by 1%, especially with some tough fixtures, as I said, to come.
Yeah, and lastly, on that run of games that you've got coming up, 4 matches in 13 days, how concerned are you about the physical impact that could have on your players?
No, I wouldn't say concern's the right word. I think the lads are prepared for this. We've worked towards this period. I think we knew what was coming. I think the only thing from our side is the number of away games we have. I think the away games are always slightly more difficult to coordinate. But we'll have to get through that period. I'm confident physically we will.
Thank you.
No problem.
Eddie, I guess it's changed days with the squad and the numbers and options you have. I think in the past, if Alan St-Maximin is fit and available, or even trained once, he goes straight back into the team. But I think it shows how well the guys who have stepped in have done, that he might have a fight to get back in the team.
Yeah, I think when I first came into the job, I think we wanted competition for places in all positions. I wouldn't say we're absolutely there yet, but I think that the squad, there's a healthy competition within the squad. I think you can see that from my side when I'm watching training. I think people are elevating their levels. There is a fight to get in the team, and then when you're in your team, you've got a fight to stay in it. And I think Maxi coming back's given everyone a lift. Hopefully he gets through today, and then we make the decision.
Brighton away back in November, when you sat in the stand alongside Amanda Stable and you watched the game, seems a long time ago now. I wonder if you think back to then, what was going through your mind, how different this challenge is now compared to, I suppose, what you expected back then?
Yeah, I don't think it's totally different. I think you come in, you know, with your eyes wide open. I knew it was a difficult challenge. I knew and I felt we had a good squad, but a lot needed to change within the feel of the group, as in low on confidence with how the season had gone, and we just needed to lift that. And it's easier said than done, but lift confidence, lift performances. Hopefully, performances improve, and then the results improve. So we knew the process we would have to go through. I've just been so pleased with how the players have responded to us. I think that's been the key thing, because I don't take that for granted. You need players to fight for you and the team and the club, and so far they have.
It's interesting listening to the players. We heard Ryan Fraser post-match last week, spoke to Joe Willett yesterday. They're putting it all down to you, and they're saying that it's you and the effort and everything you're doing behind the scenes that is allowing them to improve. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's nice to hear, but as I've said many times to you guys, I don't, sit there and read comments from anybody really. I think my biggest judge of what the players think of me is every day on the training pitch. their response to me and say meetings and discussions I have with them. That's how I judge it. All I've ever said to the players is I'm working to try and get the very best out of them individually and collectively every day. And all I ask for them in return is 100% effort. And so far, the relationship I've got with a lot of the players, or all of the players, I feel, has been very strong.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Eddie, you said when you arrived, you knew you had the core of a good squad. Obviously, a good run helps confidence, as you mentioned. But what's been the biggest difference you've noticed day in, day out on the training pitch in the way they've interacted, the way they've changed their approach?
I think I've always said in response to these questions, it's very difficult to compare change because I've only seen one side of that. I've only seen the guys since I've come in. What I would say is they've delivered, in terms of our training, very, very good response to high intensity sessions. So we have tried to push them physically, which is quite difficult to do in season. We've had to get the balance right. But their response to those training sessions and what we've asked them has been really good. Athletically, I think the squad has done very well in this run. For me, the key feature of the team has been our physical output, our off-the-ball performance, our intensity out of possession. So all of those things, I think, have helped us stay in games and win games. So can't compliment the squad enough for what they've given me physically.
And when you look at Brighton, I think it's only 2 defeats. There's been a lot of draws when they've been away from home, but only 2 defeats. Is there something noticeably different about the way they set up and approach games when they're away?
No, I'd say they're very similar, both home and away. I think they've got tactical flexibility, which is probably their biggest strength. They play a number of different shapes, even within one game. So they're a difficult opponent to line up and predict what they will do. Very good football team, want to control possession, and defensively have been good because they're not without the ball for too long. So full credit to Graham Potter and his team and his squad, because I think they've found a way of controlling games, or most games, and playing very good football at the same time.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Alistair. Hi Eddie, I wondered what you thought of Russian ownership being moved out of Everton and Chelsea.
It's very difficult for me to comment on other football clubs. You asked me a question about this football club, I will answer, but I'm not going to get drawn into that.
Are you concerned then that the authorities could look at Newcastle next, because Saudi Arabia is also bombing a neighbour?
I'm not going to predict what people will do. I'll only react to clear facts that I have in front of me. So I think comment on things like that is not relevant to me.
I mean, you are the face of the club, though, aren't you? It's a Saudi-owned club, and Saudi Arabia is involved in a war in its neighbour, and Russia's involved with a war in its neighbour and being sanctioned for that. So does that mean, Saudi Arabia could be looked at as well, which could affect, whether you can buy players or...
I'm a football manager and I'm coaching the team to try and get results, and that's all I'm going to comment on.
All right, thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
Okay, questions from the floor? John?
Just want to ask about Ryan Fraser. He said last weekend that his favourite position was a left wing. Is that something you're going to look at in the future, potentially, given his performance out Brentford man of the match he was?
Yeah, Ryan has played very well historically for me on the left-hand side at Bournemouth. That was, I'd say, his most consistent position. Here I've probably used him off the right more, due to Maxi preferring that side as well. So it's a difficult one. Obviously both players probably prefer that side. But I believe that, and I've said this to Ryan right at the start of his career with me, that good players can play in multiple positions, and Ryan's proved that for Scotland. He's played up front. But he's very good off the right-hand side, slightly different in how he plays the position, but he's very good off both flanks.
Ian?
Hey, morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You've spoken about Joelinton and how it was that Norwich game which, when he moved to midfield, that he's flourished in that position. Last week he reminded everyone that he does have an eye for goal. Is there still a striker inside Joelinton now that he's got his confidence back, or do you see him, and more importantly, does he see himself as a fully fledged midfielder?
I think midfield is a dangerous tag to give him, because I think he's more than that. He's very much an attacking midfielder. If you want to label his position now, that's how I would see him. I think there's a centre forward qualities in him for sure. You look at his history, and you don't lose those attributes that he had, and why Newcastle signed him initially for the fee that they did. So I think last week we saw, I thought it was a brilliant header. It was great to see him attacking the box and being in goal-scoring positions, which is we're encouraging him to do, and we're working on him in that. But I always say I'm not really too concerned about the individual output. It's more about the team output than the individuals within it. But he has played a key role in and out of possession in our recent run, and long may that continue for him.
But do you ever see a day when he could be a 15-goal a season centre forward, or have you ever considered, since this switch, moving him back into the front three?
Yeah, I think his flexibility is something we will utilise. Could he play up front again? Absolutely, he could. But at the moment, he's doing so well in that position, I'm reluctant to move him.
Go to Luke and then Miles. Luke.
Manager of the Month award nomination, what did that mean to you? Does it mean anything at all? Or did it...
I didn't give it too much thought, Luke, to be honest, because my preparation's been for this game. What I will say, it's been any type of accolade or award is a real statement, really, for the staff, for the players, and not just for one person. So very much a collective effort, and I have to compliment my staff for how it's not just me coming in, it's people that I've brought with me. My coaching team have been very, very good. Graham Jones, who I hadn't worked with before, I have to compliment Graham. He's become an integral part of my team, and of course all the staff around the players as well. So it's a nice little boost, I think, for them rather than for me.
And one of the things I think everyone who covered the club for a while would say is that more than sort of awards like that is the atmosphere inside the stadium. How's that been for you, and how important is that going to be going forward?
Yeah, it's hugely important. I can't thank everybody enough, and I know I've said that and I'm repeating myself, but I mean it. I think from my first game when I came out and saw the flags around the stadium, and I have to compliment War Flags and their effort and detail they go into to make a difference to the visual look of the stadium is incredible. And that plays a part, then the atmosphere plays a part, the feeling the players have when they're stepping onto the pitch. We knew we were in an incredible battle to stay in the division, and we still are. And the only way we're going to elevate our way out of that was to have the unity that we need, and the supporters have brought that every match day, home and away.
Thank you.
Miles.
Morning.
Morning.
Santiago Munoz was one of the players that trained with you this week, one of the younger players. What have you made of him, and do you see him making a first-team contribution over the course of his life?
Yeah, I've seen minimal match action of him. The reason for that is obviously with COVID, etc., we haven't mixed the groups too much, but certainly with COVID restrictions seeming to be relaxed, be something we can encourage more. And I want to see more of the under-18s, the under-23s with us, and giving people and players an opportunity to step up. I wouldn't attach too many promises to that, because we're in the middle of a relegation fight, and I need Premier League players in this fight, but certainly something longer term I want to try and push.
Okay, got Martin, Craig and then Oscar.
Hi. What do you think Newcastle can learn from Brighton and the building process that they've gone through over the last few years?
Yeah, I think they've been a very well-run club for a number of years. I think you look at first their training ground, which I always think is such a critical place to get right in terms of how it looks, how it feels, the use that the players there every day. I think they've got one of the best training grounds in the country. I think they got some key appointments right in terms of building the team around the players. Absolutely crucial you get those appointments right, and I think they have. And of course the manager and the players play a huge part in that, and that's where I highlighted Graham, the job that he's done there. But right from the top, it seems like they've got a plan and a strategy, and they've implemented it very well.
And what kind of timescale would you want in the training facilities here to be upgraded or to change?
Well, I think these things do take time. Brighton's wasn't built. I remember Brighton having no stadium. For many, many years we played them at the Withdean. So it wasn't an overnight thing for Brighton. It took a lot of time to get to where they are now, and I'm not certain on the timescales here, and it'd be foolish of me to say that. We have a good training facility here. It's not perfect, but I think it's good. It could be a lot better, and we are looking to improve things, especially shorter term. But longer term, I think the club have big ambitions for the training facilities, but how long that will be, I don't know.
Craig?
Eddie, how long can you keep a £40 million Brazilian international happy on the bench?
I'm not sure he's 40 million, but I get the question.
If you survive, I think you will be.
I think Bruno understands that he's come into a team that's doing very well currently, and as I said, because of our season and the way it's unfolded, I've been reluctant to make too many changes to the team when we're in a good moment. But I do get your question. Like he's not going to want to sit and watch for a long period of time. He's going to want to play. But the amount of games we have coming up in this short period of time, he will get his opportunities, and then it's down to him to play so well that I don't want to take him out.
And what about that cameo last week as well? He almost changed the way you play in terms of that ability to put his foot on the ball, bring others in. It was a different element, wasn't it? It was a snapshot of what he could potentially bring.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we've highlighted that we want to, longer term, we want to have more of the football, and we want to play in a slightly different style than we are currently. That will take time to evolve into. Bruno, I see being a huge part of that. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. But yes, he does play in a slightly different way, more controlling way. But he is a very creative passer. He played 2 or 3 balls last week again that were excellent. So I've been really pleased with the brief time we've seen him on the pitch.
Okay, we've got Oscar, Lee and then Chris. Oscar first.
Eddie, back to Ryan, clearly loving life at the moment. How was he when you arrived? Did you find the player quite low on confidence and morale compared to what you were used to?
I'm trying to think back. Not particularly, no. I saw a player that was... the thing with Ryan is I know him so well that technically I had no doubts about him at all. Tactically, no doubts about him. He understands the beauty of me coming in. He understands what I wanted straight away, and I think that was an advantage for him. So I haven't had to put too much information into him, really. It was a case of just giving him the opportunity to play. And I think with Ryan, because he hadn't played consistent football for a long time, I think he needed those games to suddenly find his rhythm again. And I think the last few games you've seen that rhythm return, and you've seen a player that can impact on goals and assists. There is thing, well, especially assists. And the ball for Joelinton last week was of the highest level with his left foot. It was a great cross.
Yeah, just looking at the sort of run of games you've got coming up, I mean, if you win at the weekend, and then by the time you next play at St James's Park, you could be almost on the cusp of sealing Premier League safety. I mean, that's looking at it from an optimistic point of view. Just wondered if you looked at that sort of batch of away games as a challenge to get on the cusp before the next home game.
I love your positivity. I think from my side, it's just Brighton first. I think the other games, just we know it's intense. We know they're grouped together. It's as I said, it's a group of away games, which whenever you look at games on paper, you can't predict what those games will be like. They're tough games. But I think if we can just look at this game and give our all to this home game, which is our last home game for quite a long period of time, we want to maximise every minute of that game and give our best to try and get another positive result.
And just quickly on Sean Longstaff, it's gone quiet on his future, only 3 months left of his existing deal.
Yeah, no, I love Sean, and I probably haven't displayed that by my team selections, but that's only because, as I said earlier, we've got Bruno who's not playing as well. It's a really strong area of the team. But I really do rate Sean highly, and I'm desperate for him to get an opportunity and show everyone on a consistent basis what he can do, because I think he's a top player. I'd love him to stay at the football club. There's no part of me that wants to see him leave. I believe he has a long-term future here. But obviously that's Sean's decision as well.
So there's something on the table for him if he wants it?
Yeah, from my side, there is absolutely every part of me wants him to stay.
Chris?
Morning, Eddie. Newcastle in 2021 across the calendar year conceded 80 goals. You've only conceded 3 so far in this year, and obviously even when you first came in, first game 3 goals conceded, the defence has really sort of tightened up. And how has that come about? Because this team for so long had struggled to keep clean sheets, and suddenly over the last few weeks you've become a really strong unit, don't concede many goals. How has that come about? How have you worked on getting that out?
Yeah, I think the first thing I say on that is it's a continual process of work. So we haven't suddenly become a team that doesn't concede. We've done well in recent games, but we have to continue to work and focus on defending well in all phases, because it's never fixed. A lot of work's gone on in the training ground. The players, I've got to say, their attitude to that work we've put on has been excellent, from the defending players to the midfield players. We've worked a lot on our team structure and shape. Been really, really pleased with the response of that work. January made a difference as well, signing a couple of defenders in there who have played really well in our recent games. But also I think consistency of selections helped across that back four. We've been reluctant to make too many changes. Now we've been forced to a couple of times with injuries. But I think that consistency of selections has enabled relationships to build, partnerships to build, and I think that's key to a good defensive unit.
Kieran? And you spoke earlier about Brighton and their appointments, right?
Yep.
Has there been any more on the sporting director search? Have you been told anything recently?
No, until something is official and done, I'm sure we'll be the first to hear of it. We're working as we were until that appointment is made.
And you spoke about Fabian Scher's contract and also Sean Long's staff. I mean, how keen are you to keep this group together? Obviously, there's so much speculation about who could be coming in going forward, but have they won you around a lot of these players?
Well, they certainly put themselves in a stronger position now. That work is never done. They're going to be judged on their next training performance and their next match. But yeah, I do like a lot of the players in the group. Now we know that no football team ever stands still. There's always changes. The team has to evolve over time. But certainly the players you spoke about, I feel for me have done very well.
Any further questions? John?
Just to ask on a wider injury front, how's Kieran Trippier doing? Callum Wilson, is Matt Nice and Matt Ritchie back in contention yet?
Matty's doing really well. So he's had a period where he's been away. He's come back. He's looking good. We hope he will train maybe next week. And I think once he trains, he'll be up to speed quite quickly because he's been able to maintain his fitness. So he's been able to run in between. Kieran's done well. He's had his stitches out on his foot, so he's making good progress. We're happy. Callum is as we were, really. He's working towards returning. He's working hard on certain aspects. He's not running yet. We haven't seen him outside yet, but I think with the last update I gave you, he's still on track from there.
So just to say an instance, when you get towards the end of the season, you're safe. Is the potential that you might not see them players play again this season?
I'm not going to put my head in that space. We've got a lot of work to do. We're still very much in a relegation battle. We need every player fit as quickly as possible.